been there so many years before you can start working on all the equipment, but we start on it day one. And so we're gonna, I think we're almost there, and we'll let these guys introduce themselves, and then we'll get going from there. Alrighty. All right. Thank you, Matt. And here's Matt. He's in charge of our live sound. Took care of our sound today. Really appreciate him. All right, so we good for them, Matt? Or sure. Okie doke. All right, so these are our panel of experts. We're segregated, I guess, male and female. So if you would, introduce yourself and tell us what your job title is and a little bit about what you do. And, IDigi stands for a digital festival. Like Dean Garcia was talking about earlier, I can't remember. I've lost track. We've been doing this about 16, 17 years. And so it's been a long time. And when we first started, doing digital art was a really big thing. And not too many people did it. And now it's a very prevalent thing. So I want y'all to see what all these four folks do and what all it involves there. Rebecca, will you start us off and tell us who you are and where you work and what your job title is, please?
Absolutely. My name is Rebecca Cushman, and I currently work at the Texas Tech University Health Sciences Center with the School of Health Professions, and I'm the Assistant Director for Digital Strategies.
My name is Sierra Bryan, and I work at Stephen Joseph Gifts, but it has 3 companies within it. I'm currently the marketing coordinator, and I've been there for about a year and a half.
Hello, my name is Damon Martinez. I'm currently employed at DreamWorks Animation. Industry-wide, I would be considered a junior compositor. What I do, my job title is called image filing artist. So basically, I'm a cleanup artist. I do the beauty passes before the film goes out to the public.
I'm Vince Cobb. I'm the creative director at Monsoon. We're a branding agency. We kind of focus on brand first, being a part of that. We do websites, logos, and just about anything that you would need for your company.
So as you can see, we've got all kinds of things from working with DreamWorks to local folks here, social media, all kinds of different areas. So the first thing I wanted to ask these guys, and we'll start with you, Sierra, if you'll answer us this. How did you get into this field?
So I came into the graphic design department in 2020, and I got out in 2022. And it did take me a while. It took me 6 months to find a job, and I was the graphic designer for this wellness company, which then led me from making those graphics onto the job I have now, which is marketing coordinator, which I do social media, Amazon, our photo, our video. I do a lot of graphics for us. We go out to shows, and I do those graphics for them. We hand out flyers, and what got me there was portfolio. Time management was a huge thing for us in this company, and learning what we learned from portfolio class got me to where I am today.
Thank you, Sierra. Okay, and Damon, I share your story all the time. Can you tell us how you got to work for DreamWorks? Because that's in Hollywood, isn't it?
Yep.
Okay.
Mr. Davison always told me about it. So basically, I graduated from here in December 2003. I moved out to California in 2004 and during spring break. And so basically, going through animation school, and then like Sierra, it took about 6-8 months to find a job. Because at the time when I graduated was during a writer's strike. And so pretty much the whole industry collapsed. And so I was just kind of waiting for a job. and everything. And so I started at a stereo conversion place. That's where you make stereoscopic movies, the 3D type. And that's kind of where I got the basis of my training. And so I worked there for a couple of years. The company decided to move. I didn't. And so I went to a different company that also did conversion. And so I worked there for many, many years. And during that time, that's where I had just met a lot of people, opened up my network. And they needed people at DreamWorks, and so I knew one of the guys. They knew me, and so he just messaged me like, "Hey, are you still looking for a job? Would you be interested in working here?" And I was like, "Yeah." It's like, "Okay, I'll put in give me your resume. I'll give it to our boss." And really, that's how I got into it. Was just networking and stuff. But I can go into more details later.
Yeah, so, this is pretty cool because I know I talk to students all the time, and a lot of people want to get into animation and get into working on movies and things. And for a lot of people, they think that there's this big gap between here and getting to a job like Damon did. Okay? Where'd you grow up at, Damon?
Here in Lubbock,
Lubbock? Yeah. What high school did you go to?
Monterey.
Monterey. Okay? It's just like a lot of you guys. Okay? He took the education here. He got a little bit more after he left here, but those gave him the basis to get into that. And so following your dreams and wanting to get into somewhere like DreamWorks or some of these places like that, it takes a lot of hard work. One of the things that we'll probably talk about a little bit later too, make a lot of connections. Who are the people that you hang out with? Who do you get to working with? And all those things that gave him that first step that, hey, he knew a guy who worked at DreamWorks and they needed somebody. So he went into that. Not really an accident, but he worked on there. How about you, Vince? How'd you get into the field where you're at?
I like to joke that I kind of stumbled into it. So I initially didn't want to go to school for graphic design, but I went to the senior sneak that South Plains does every year and just accidentally got in the wrong line. But then I toured the program and I realized, I really like doing art, but I didn't want to be a starving artist. So that seemed like a good way to go about it. So I graduated, did an internship after I graduated, ended up working for a t-shirt company for a few years, and now I work with a brand agency where we get to do logos and websites, and I get to create artwork that has a purpose, and it's built for a purpose instead of just doing things just for the heck of it. And I really enjoy getting to see that and seeing people really enjoy the work that I put out for them, and even getting to see it around town. It's pretty cool to get to see your work on a building. So.
Yeah, and since you're doing things on the internet, it's worldwide now, right?
Exactly. We have clients that range from up in Colorado all the way down to Houston. We've talked with people from even New York and trying to do work with them too. So.
All right, cool deal. Thank you, Vince. All right. And Rebecca, how about you? How'd you get into the position you're in now, and what were those steps?
Well, it's a little bit of a road, but I started out with an HDFS degree, from Texas Tech. I've always loved art, and I played around with Photoshop a little bit through guidance of a friend, and I really loved it, but I didn't know how to do it properly. And so I remember one day I just decided I'm going to call and see if South Plains, because I think I saw something online or something like that, and I called and I said, do you help people learn how to use the pen tool? Yeah, we do that, absolutely. What about video? Absolutely, we do that too. Websites, yeah, we do that too. And I was expecting to get, within many programs, it might be several different degrees. And because this was also close to home, it was kind of a no-brainer for me. And so then I took the classes, and they were amazing. I felt like doors were open to me. Just kind of this magical world of all of a sudden I feel like I can do anything. So after that, through this South Plains College program, I got my internship with Price Group, which is a marketing agency in town. I went from intern to senior designer, and then through actually one of these panel events, I talked to one of the other panelists and said, man, what does it take to be a producer? That sounds cool. And they told me, and then ironically, they reached out to me a while later saying, hey, are you looking for an opportunity? We need a producer. And so from then, I became a marketing producer for Texas Tech Public Media, where they have stations in San Angelo and El Paso and Lubbock, NPR and/or PBS, different combinations. And then after that, I'm trying to think. Christy, who I also met through my internship, helped me toward. She called me one day and said, "Hey, are you looking for a job?" Again, this is years later. I said, "Sure, I'm interested." And she said, "Well, there's an opening at Texas Tech Health Sciences Center." So I can truly and fully say that South Plains College has helped me every step of the way, and to say that, you know, they haven't been a big part of my career, it's a gross it's an understatement.
Thank you, thank you. Great, so, as we're sitting here, we have high school students and then our students here. What would be your biggest piece of advice that you would give somebody who's, 16, 17, 18, 20 years old, trying to get in this field, maybe in our program, maybe wanting to come into our program? What would be the best advice that you could give them? Damon, could you go ahead and start us off with that one?
Trying to think. Like if you're graduating, because I know in high school, I didn't really know what I wanted to do till almost the very end. So I guess one is having a vision of what you want, and what you want to get to, and then, at least for me, I knew I needed just to have some kind of goal and foundation. So I just figured with, coming from here, we didn't really know much about film, so I figured a graphics degree or something like that should give me a good foundation. And so everything you should work towards, either school or even study on your own, that's going to be a huge part of it. You got to be driven. If you don't really want it and just expect a handout, you're not going to make it, unfortunately. And so with your end goal in mind, have everything that you do build towards that. And even, like, we'll probably go at this again too, even what I got here was my foundation, that I still use the skills I learned here and just built them up more in my job.
Right, and there is a question, I've always been meaning to ask you this, because my predecessor used to always tell this story about Damon, and that I think he asked you one time, or hopefully this really happened, it's not a story, but he was like, that he asked Damon one of the times when he came back and spoke for us, what was the biggest thing that helped get you your foot in that door and get going? And the way he told the story was the skills that you'd learned in Photoshop while you were here. Is that a true story?
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, most of the graphics design, because when I went to my new school, like I still had to do a lot of portfolio stuff, but I already knew a lot of the foundations I already knew here, and so I could skip a lot of the classes and ended up kind of being the top of the class because I already knew it and I was helping other students because of, what I had here was more advanced than what it was kind of just a cheap school at the time too, but I knew more than most of them and stuff. But yeah, it carried me on. Everything I used I still used even there and even at the following school.
Cool deal. How about you, Sierra? What advice would you have for somebody wanting to get in this field?
Not to give up. That's my huge thing. I, like Damon, did not come into this knowing until the very last moment when I applied to SPC. In high school, I did the yearbook, I did the graphics for the school, and I didn't really know that was what I was going to come and plan and do. I thought I was going to be in finance, and here I am now. Not to give up, especially in the day and age of AI. Don't give up. I use AI to help me as a tool, but I don't use it to rely on it. It won't, I know it's a scary thing, but don't give up and use it as a tool, but never as your main source.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, how about you, Rebecca? What would be if you got one piece of advice to share with us, what would it be to get into the graphics field?
I would say kind of three things. One, never stop learning. Whatever you do, every day you're going to be learning something new. If in an ideal situation, take that as an opportunity to add it to your tool set. Because in many of my jobs, I had to learn a whole new set of tool sets every time. And it helped me become, if you're adapting and learning, then you're able to fill a lot of positions, and that makes you more valuable. And then also kind of see design from the mindset of a problem solver. If your main goal is to solve problems, then you are already a helper and you're already an asset to whoever you're working for. And then the third thing is, if you know what you want to do, find someone that does what you want to do, and then seek them out and ask them how they got to be where they are, because most people like sharing what they do, and they like sharing their story, and it'll kind of give you a little insight as to how they got there.
Very important, yeah. Okay, how about you, Vince? What advice do you have for us?
Well, I think Damon, Sierra, Rebecca hit on some very important parts. Having drive, having passion, and a hunger to learn are very important. And also having a good portfolio is going to be one of those big things that's going to help you out. South Plains is a great place to get started in that. It's a good place to help give you those prompts to help encourage you to grow and really help you become competitive. Because that's going to be really what's going to set you apart. And again, like AI is it's a thing that's coming out. People are using it, and everyone's learning how to use it. And the industry is going to look different going forward with it. But at the end of the day, the thing is still going to separate you from another designer are those four things. It's going to be, do you have the drive to keep going, to pursue it, and to be more productive than the other people around you? Are you going to have the passion to enjoy that and for that to show in your work so it doesn't just look bland and soulless? Are you going to have the hunger to learn so you can continue to improve upon those skills and build upon those skills? You're not going to be able to succeed with any of that, and you won't be able to keep up with the industry as a whole if you can't. And all that will show with your end product, which is your portfolio, and that will be, again, be something that will set you apart from other designers. That's the biggest thing that's going to show potential employers that you're worth hiring and bringing onto their team. Not only do you have to be able to do it from a technical standpoint, but it has to look good, and it has to be alluring to people for them to, like say you're making a product mock-up, right? It's got to look good. No one wants to look at just a picture of a can and go, okay, I'm going to buy your soda. No, they want to see it with the set dressing. They want to see it with landscapes, people using it in lifestyle shots. And you have to be able to do that and think that through and be able to put that passion into it for that to show and for people to really engage.
Okay, really good there. And I was kind of contemplating about whether we go there, but y'all have mentioned it. AI. What is that going to do with our industry? Because I know there's some really crazy things, some big scams and stuff in that. But, is that going to take all our jobs? And I'll let whoever wants to go first on this one tackle it.
Go ahead.
Great. So yeah, full disclosure, we've been using some AI recently in my work. And again, it's a tool. It's a fantastic tool, really. It's learning, and you can use it to help expedite the process. But again, that's expediting the process. It's not replacing it. At the end of the day, there's things going on with Clyde and Figma, which are some different, it's an AI and a different tool that people use constantly for web design at the moment. And that's even changed how things look just in the past few months versus what I would have told you 3 months ago. But at the end of the day, you still have to be a designer with that eye, because AI just can't replicate that. It can't replace what you have as a person with those skills. It can only imitate, and even then it's a pale imitation of what a good designer can actually do and bring forth. I think in the next few years, you're going to kind of see a little bit of a change in what graphic design does. You're going to end up seeing a lot of people who, you have to learn to describe the process better. You'll have to learn to describe what you're thinking better for writing out prompts so that you can get to that endpoint faster and sooner than your competitors.
Anybody else got it?
Yeah, I can. Like I said earlier, it's definitely a guiding tool, but never something you should rely on. I mean, I recently used it today. Writing prompts is the huge part of getting what you want out of it. For instance, I use ChatGPT and the Photoshop part on it. It's not gonna take away our jobs. I had the fear, I mean, it was all over the social media and everything, but like, how do I say it? You still have to be that eye. It's imperfect. It's not perfect at all. There's so many things wrong with it, but it is also a great tool. And so we will be here at the end of the day doing the finishing work for it.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's going to take away our jobs. I think industry changes and the way we do things changes all the time. And so kind of going back to being a problem solver and learning new things, the way you do things may change, but what you do doesn't change. And so, for instance, with AI, with ChatGPT or, Adobe products, you still have to be a really good art director to be able to use it. And to do that, you have to have those foundational skills and knowledge behind that, because many times I've entered prompts in it, and to count the number of times that I had a finished product after it is slim to none. Now, did it give me a boost time-wise? Did it help me build mock-ups faster? Absolutely. And to throw the baby out with the bathwater, so to speak, it would be a gross disservice to technology and progress. But I think we have to be very careful, because if we lean too heavily on it, that's whenever problems happen to me.
Let's see. I've been trying to think of how to place it too in my industry, 'cause I haven't used it in mine. It's just not perfect enough. Like I said, my job is detail oriented, and AI just doesn't produce anything that's cinematic worthy. I know there's a few studios that are starting to do that, and again, you can see the flaws in it, and my job is to perfect those flaws. I don't think, it's not going to replace everything, but it is, I think for my industry, it's going to reduce a lot. So if you're not up there, like some of the best, you might get replaced. I think it is going to take a lot of that, and like Rebecca and them said, it can speed up a lot of the work, so I think it's going to create a lot of shortcuts. I know for our studio, I don't know how advanced it is, but I know for us, because studios are also technology companies, they produce a lot of technology behind the scenes that create the stuff that you see. And so I know they're using AI to search our databases, so that helps speed up the time, the hours that they spend looking, our technical directors, speeds up their time that they're looking, and then they can also mock up, whatever kind of coding they need for whatever job or something that comes up that they need, but they still have to check it. And that's the problem. AI isn't perfect, and I don't know if many of you guys, as an example, I was going to use Microsoft, when almost all the computers went down last year, especially for the corporateness. It was because Microsoft engineers used AI, didn't check the code, and they sent it out, and that caused corporations everywhere to fail. And so AI isn't ready for that. You still need the human part, and like Vince said, it's not human. You can kind of tell it just doesn't have that spark or that creativity. Maybe in another 20 years it might, but at least right now, it's not ready for that. But it is a helpful tool. It can give you a boost and get you ahead and save you some time and hours, but you still need that human touch to finish up all the details. And at least for me in my job, it can't replace it. It might help me with some tools, but we can't get it to work just right. So it's an imperfect tool.
Okie doke. Thank you, guys. Because, that's one of the things that I've looked at and been concerned about is how do things get replaced, and how does AI come into this? We were talking a little bit that this is kind of how it was back when the computer started in this field. And, Mr. Contreras and I, when we both went to school, neither one of us worked on any computers. And we learned how to do that through through our first jobs, and it was the experiences we got there. And one of the things that I like about this field is that you can be creative, and that you can reach out and do things. I remember growing up, I always wanted to be an artist. When all my friends were wanting to be cops and firemen and astronauts and all these things, I was still over here drawing things and wanting to create them, and scared my dad to death that he thought I was going to be one of those starving artists. I think Vince said something about that earlier, that, you know, I can't get no job being an artist. And when I found out, it was about 8th grade, I found out that there was such a thing as a commercial artist, and turns into graphic design, that I can get a paycheck every 2 weeks or every month and do this. So it's one of those things that is an amazing field. And just, I've been teaching about 18 years now, and how things have changed, and even in these 4 individuals here, how the progress of their skills and their abilities have been there. So I'm trying to think of how to word this question, and I know where I want to go with it, but I can't really. What is something that basically, if you were to start over today, and you were a high school senior or in your first year in college or something, would you do anything different, or what would you do to get yourself to where you're at now faster?
Are we talking about like as a student today or back when we were
A
students?
student today, that if you were setting out here with the knowledge that you know now, what would you do to get yourself there quicker? Does that make any sense, or is this just Mr. Beatles rambling again?
Basically, how would we start again?
Yeah.
I can go if you want.
No,
I've been thinking about this too, because, you know, I'm jealous of this program and just a lot of the new students now because of the opportunities that you have. I was just talking to a young lady who's in college, and she's going to Sam Houston. And I guess within the last 5-10 years, something like that, they developed their own kind of animation television program. And, you know, my sister graduated from there, and so I was like kind of jealous. Like, I would have loved to have known about that. You know, in my years of working, especially at DreamWorks and other studios, I've met a lot of people who come from Texas, and I have a lot of friends who graduated from like A&M and University of Dallas. Some of their earliest jobs, like second, third maybe, were, you know, at DreamWorks too. So they had plenty of opportunities, and I didn't know those schools had programs. And so Texas has grown a lot. There's a lot more schools. There's a lot more opportunities that are available now that I didn't have, and even just knowledge in general that I wish I could have had. But like even now with like YouTube and all that stuff, there's a lot of stuff I do. You can get training on the software. You don't really need school, and I've told people that before. You don't really need like a degree anymore because there's so much out there. There's so much like even certificates online for animation. Like if you want to do actual animation. There's so many degrees in the movie film industry that you can go into. So like opportunities are limitless. But there's like now there's so many opportunities, and if I would have known about that, I probably would have stayed in Texas longer, got that there, so I wouldn't have to struggle so much in California. But you know, those struggles were all kind of part of the experience and, you know, learning. But yeah, it's probably just that I would have, if I would have known what to look for and stuff, or had an advisor, and that would have been probably the best thing. But yeah, I probably would have stayed here in Texas and learned some about these programs and do that instead.
Yeah, I definitely agree with what you're saying. Like, I'll often see posts done by South Plains College and the things that are going on in the program, and I'll see a post like, oh, and this was a few years ago now, but like, oh, now they're making T-shirts. Man, I wish they did that whenever I was in school. Oh, they're doing video game development or whatever the class is. Oh, man, I wish they'd had that whenever I was in it. And so I have like this FOMO. But I mean, I appreciate the time that I spent and when I did, and I wouldn't change anything for the record. But I agree kind of at the same, like whatever you're talking about. Yes, there are a lot of resources with YouTube, et cetera. I think my initial thought was, you know, well, I'll try to teach myself. And something that was a game changer for me was actually having interactive learning to where I can say, hey, Mr. Beatles, for some reason I can't get this pen tool to work. Can you show me how? Or at the time, Mr. Davidson, for some reason whenever you tell me to do this isn't happening. So what do I need to do to make it work? And that's kind of one, you know, kind of, you learn in bubbles whenever you're learning on your own, but the program is set out to give you a comprehensive understanding of things and to build on your skill sets, and then those checks along the way to say, hey, are you here? Okay, great. Are you here? Awesome. Now you have this accredited standard, and we'll help you get a job after that.
Well, I have to agree with a lot of that. again, you don't necessarily need to go to school to learn to do graphic design. You can learn it on your own. I've seen people who have done really good work and who didn't even go to school for graphic design. One of the best designers I know, he went to school for architecture. But here's a clear benefit that I can tell you about going to school at South Plains, and why, if I could start over again, I'd probably still go. Is, again, it is a good place to learn with other people. You have instructors who want to help you comprehend the software in a very detailed way. And it's a safe space to kind of do that, where you can experiment and it not be something where it's like you're really worried about wasting your time, because no, this is time built for that. This is time that you have that's specifically for doing that, and it will help you develop those skills, learn these tools, and in some cases get to experiment with other things that you wouldn't have thought to have messed with. Actually, going to South Plains, I learned a little bit of video editing, something I never thought I would do. I actually still use stuff that I learned in I don't think he's in here, but Greg Cook's class. I learned a lot of stuff in After Effects. I still use that today, and I just do logos and websites. But it helps out with doing the websites. And even whenever I'm needing to work with someone who actually is a videographer, I have an understanding of what I'm talking about, so I can work with them so they can do their job better. I wouldn't have had that experience if I had not come here. I wouldn't be able to develop those skills on my own without having set a good foundation by coming to South Plains.
I have to agree with that. Sorry, because of, no, I'm thinking about it from like an from my own experiences and stuff like that. So yeah, like a strong foundation with people that you can work with to kind of help overcome those challenges. Yeah, that's invaluable. At least, like I say, for me, for animation, there's certain little skills that, some of them aren't taught here, and you can kind of get them on your own. But again, the school gives you that feedback. And again, when something isn't working, why isn't this doing this? You have a fallback from other students, your teachers and stuff to fall back on. So yeah, school is invaluable for that part. So I apologize that, there's still a lot of stuff you can learn, but having a mentor to fall back on is a huge help.
And I agree that it's just a foundation too.
Yeah.
Like, it's just the starting point.
I don't know if I have much input on here due to me just being 4 years out. When I was in my last semester, y'all had brought in animation. I think if I had to restart, I would make sure I got the education in video. It's definitely something that I've had to learn on my own. Mr. Davidson was my professor for that one, and basically, nice way. Yes, if I had to go through it again, I'd make sure that I got the education I needed from video, because I do have to use that in my job right now. So that's the only difference that I would have had.
Okay, all right, thank you, guys. Does anybody out here have a question for any of these guys? I probably should have gave you all a warning and get you to think about it. We'll take a couple questions right quick, and then we'll get out of here. Yes, sir.
I have a question just for him. So you make websites for businesses, right?
Yep.
Okay, good to know. That's all I needed to know.
Have you got a business you need him?
Yeah.
I'll get you his card. Do you want to? Okay, all right. Anybody
I got
else?
a couple out in the
Okay.
car.
All right, yes, ma'am.
So, what films have you worked on cleanup for?
For DreamWorks, everything from Kung Fu Panda, was it 3? Yeah, I think we're at 4 now. So yeah, everything from 3 up until the present. So Panda 3, the Trolls series, the Boss Baby series, Underpants, what was the recent one? Spirited, Untamed. I just finished The Bad Guys 2. So yeah, everything from there. And then when I was doing a stereo conversion, I pretty much worked on all the Marvel movies except for like Iron Man 1 up until I think Iron Man 2, I think was my last one, and started a little bit on the new series of Star Wars. So yeah, I have probably close to 100 films now under my belt. Yeah.
One of the other things that I thought was really kind of neat is Damon moved back to Lubbock a couple years ago,
Yep.
I think. And he's still working with DreamWorks, and on Monday, he's gonna be working from them, but from Lubbock, Texas. He's working remote for DreamWorks, and I think that's one of the things that we've talked a lot about technology, and some of that technology came along under COVID, which everybody gets tired of blaming everything on COVID. This is kind of a cool thing. I've got ex-students that design websites and do work laying in their hammock in their backyard, which I think is kind of cool. I got to go to work, but, all right, a couple more questions. Anybody else have a question? Okay, all right, back over here.
So if you do the cleanup designs for movies, is there also a department for creating the designs?
Yeah, well, yeah, I do cleanup work, so it's for the film itself, and so I'm the last stage before it goes out. And so everything beforehand, I'm basically cleaning up the mistakes for about 10, 15 departments ahead of me. And so, yeah, like anything that's involved with the movie, so there's the story, there's the design, there's, pre-layout, and then animation, effects, character, and, world effects, and all that stuff. So there's like tons and tons of departments even ahead of me. I'm just a small part of it.
All right. You had a question?
What's y'all's favorite part of y'all's job?
Question.
I'll go first. Mine would have to be when I do create the graphics, seeing the end result. That's my favorite part. When I'm getting all the information that I need to be executed, going through it, the first phase, the second phase, the third phase, and then getting to the end result, seeing where it came from to where it is now is my absolute favorite part of the job.
My favorite part, I love doing websites, but my passion is doing logos. I love going through that process and even working with the other guys at Monsoon to make that for people. It's great, like you'll figure out what's the company's name, and then we try to find out through our branding exercise different things about them, find out the personality. And then through that, we'll create a bunch of little mock-ups, little thumbnail sketches. That's something actually that's a skill developed here at South Plains, Mr. Beatles' class. And we'll go through and we'll sketch out some ideas, and then we'll make mock-ups of some of these ideas, and we'll make the black and whites of them. So we'll send the client anywhere from 3 to 5 of these mock-ups. They'll go through, see what they like, what they don't like, and sometimes we hit that stage, great, it's on the colors. Other times we go back and we do more. And just sitting there and kind of talking with these guys and just building up this brand together and getting feedback in the moment, man, there's nothing like it. I love it.
All right, I got to interrupt here. So you said you still do thumbnails? That's not just something abusive that we did back here in school?
No, and actually it's a lot of fun.
Remember that, my students, okay?
If it makes you feel any better, my 7-year-old loves doing it too.
I guess for me, there's a few things. One of the big things that I miss now is just studio life. We always have lots of parties. There's like just gatherings, like just random things that come up and happen. And so you get to just walk out of your desk, and it's not like you have to clock out or anything because it's just part of the day. And so you just kind of go out, have fun. Sometimes they'll get like amusement park rides and stuff, and like cater food and everything. So it's just a really fun night. Everyone's just getting drunk and stuff. And but you're an adult, so you're responsible, and so you have cabs home and stuff like that. So, but it's just a lot of fun that you have, and I miss that part of like coming out here is probably one of the biggest things I miss. Secondly, is probably the wrap parties. Not only just for the party and the food, but also because of the movie. Because with what I'm doing, I don't get to see the entire film, and it's always on silent. There's never audio, so I'm just doing these shots randomly throughout the film. I never see the completed work until we go to the wrap party, and that's the first time I actually see the movie completed on the screen as a whole. And so, like, that's always a nice experience to have with your coworkers, and for us in a professional field, you watch the credits. I know most people don't, but we watch them. We go through the names. We're clapping for every department, and everyone's just like happy for like this is our contribution to the film. And so those are like just great experiences. And then 3 is just my coworkers. Like you just can't beat having a good team. And like for us, because we're all artists, you know, we get to joke about everything. We have fun, and like everyone's kind of an expert in different things. So mine's kind of like anime and some pop culture. Other people, one of my friends, she loves fishing and birds, and other people are like more technical, so they study our software a lot. So they teach us that, we teach them this, and so everyone's, you know, I'm learning about everything, even like Gen Alpha talk and stuff. We do that at the studio sometimes just for fun, and some people hate it, so we love teasing them with it. But it's just having you know, when you're working with artists, everyone's contributing, everyone's taken in, and you know, you just can't get that anywhere else without like a good team, and you get to learn about everyone else's experiences and stuff, and you know, so I know a lot about the little things, and it's just, you know, having a good team just makes the day so much more fun.
Go ahead, Rebecca. What's the favorite part of your job?
It kind of depends on the role that I'm in at the time, but whenever I'm doing marketing directing or like analytics related stuff, seeing the needle move a little bit. I think, you know, see more people come to an event. If attendance is low and then you can suggest something and then they do it and then more people come, that's awesome. Like to me, there's a little rush in that. If you get lucky to see your logo on a passing car, I remember that moment after I graduated thinking, oh wow, that's actually in real life. Like it's different than seeing it on your computer screen. I remember, I'm not condoning this, but pulling out my phone and taking a picture just because I thought it was so cool. Anytime someone can give me a problem and say, hey, for some reason this email or this part of the website isn't working, we've tried X, Y, and Z and we're not sure what to do. Can you look at it, take a look at it? Anytime I can solve a problem for someone, that gives me a rush. I did a little video production at the station, and anytime you can create something that moves people, to me that's one of, especially for a greater purpose, to me that's one of the greatest rushes there are.
Okay, thank you, guys. Anybody, one more question. Does anybody have one? You've already used yours. All right, we'll take one from our students.
So my question is, when dealing with clients, whenever you're dealing with people that might be difficult, how do you handle that? And what are just some good communication skill tips?
Contracts.
How do you deal with difficult clients?
I don't have to worry about that. So.
Yeah, neither do I, but recently I did start doing my own company. I did have to recently learn contracts is the major thing right there. And when replying back to the customers, I use ChatGPT. They know how I talk, so that's, I got them to be the nice version of me, the professional version of me. So contracts and knowing when to be professional.
Okay. Any advice from you, Rebecca?
I think it depends on the situation, but I know that at least whenever I worked for the agency, we had, for this specific situation, they offered for a price, design plus, I think it was 2 or 3 sets of revisions. And then after that, it was kind of a new discussion, a new contract. And that helped keep clients and everyone, the team, on the same page as to, okay, if I have these changes, I'm going to make them count. I'm going to make sure they know as much information as possible so that they can give me a better product in the end, and that helps. And then, you know, the other half of that, and this isn't so much with agency because there's a lot of checks and balances in that, but like as, say, a freelance designer, or if you're working in-house, is, yes, definitely, you know, have that healthy balance, but also like, keep yourself in check of, you know, do I have ego in this? You know, I understand, I think that this is the best product, but am I listening to my client? Am I listening to my boss or my team to hear what they need? And is this actually serving a purpose? So I think it's a balance, and it's kind of a fine line between learning that balance.
Well, I should probably give an actual response instead of just one word. Um, yeah, when dealing with difficult clients, the biggest thing that we've kind of dealt with, and in my mind, there's two kinds of difficult clients. There's the ones where there's disgruntled, and there's the people that you just can't really get their attention. The biggest thing with some of that, at least with getting their attention, is having set deadlines from the get-go. You know, where it's, hey, we're going to make you a website, but in order for it to progress along this timeline, you have to get us content by this time. And you have to have them put a little skin in the game. You know, like they got to put some money up front for certain points during the process. One of our things is you have to pay a little up front, and then there's half upon essentially the halfway point of the project, and then the rest is upon completion. You know, and that's a good way to get people invested into it so they want to be involved, and they will, you know, hopefully in that case, in a lot of cases, they'll respond to their emails. They'll get you the photos that you need. They'll get you the copy that you need. There are some clients that, good examples, we have one client just recently who, they said, hey, we want a website, and all we have is this one brochure, and it has literally 5 lines of text on it. Told us absolutely nothing about their business, absolutely nothing about what they had to offer. And so we had to use AI, use chat to generate some copy, some text written out for the website that we then had them go through and read it out. And that helped push that project along. Other ones where they're angry, you know, sometimes you just kind of got to gauge that based off of what they're angry about, what they're getting frustrated by. Sometimes it's not even your fault they're frustrated. They're having other things outside of that process, and that frustration is bleeding through into your project. And you just kind of have to handle that as calmly as you can and as professionally as you can. You can't get mad back. One of the biggest things that I've learned in the past decade and a half I've been in this industry is having one happy client is great. Having one mad client is going to tank you. That doesn't mean give in to everything they say. The customer's not always right. But that's right, they're always the customer. And usually if someone's real mad, they're going to speak a lot louder than the people that are happy with you.
All right, thank you, guys. Okay, getting towards the end here. Thank you, guys, for your input. Give you just another minute or two. Is there something you'd like to share with us or tell these high school students and college students that would help them benefit? It's still advice. So that's pretty much what we've all talked about today. But one more chance to say something else that maybe we didn't ask. And do you want me to start with you? Rebecca just looked at me and said, "Don't let me go first." Anybody want to volunteer first for that one? I'm making them think.
Why not? I'll do it again.
There, go ahead, Ben.
Someone's got to break the ice, right? If you're going into graphic design, the biggest piece of advice I would give you, whether that's working on school projects or working on client work, is keep in mind the difference between creating art and creating design. One is the form of the thing over the function. The other is the function of the thing over the form. Art is meant to be enjoyed, while design is meant to relay a message. And while you can have something that relays that message and looks really good, that has to be the priority if you're doing design. You can make something that looks fantastic and amazing. It would look great on a wall. But if it doesn't tell you that I do HVAC, it's kind of a pointless design. It doesn't do the job. And you're going to have more unhappy clients. You're going to struggle in your classwork if you can't keep those two things separate and keep that in mind.
Okay. Thank you, Damien. We want to come down the line there.
Yeah, I was trying to think of what I could say. Because like in my industry is very different from what these guys do, because everything, your work is being sold, and so there's ownership in that. But for me, I don't own anything. Like none of my work is mine. It's just, you know, I'm just the labor for a studio. As simple as that is. So it's a different type of mindset. I guess you kind of have to get around. So if you're gonna, I know 6'7". So like if you're getting in the film industry, you're gonna have to like really put your ego aside and let that part of you go. Like you don't own anything there. And even if you're working at a studio, I know like if I have my own projects, I have to be very, very careful about it, and I have to disclose it, because if you're working on anything during work hours, you use company computers, it is now their property. It's no longer yours because you did it on their stuff, and so now that's part of your contracts that you sign, is you give away anything that you did while you were employed with them. So you have to be very, very careful about how you do that. And so like, I would say just be mindful of that. Like really think, depending on where you go, how your job leads and stuff like that, you have to be able to like put your ego aside and just, decide what part to let go.
For me, for the high schoolers, if y'all are still questioning coming to SBC, make the choice now. SBC, the program is great. It walked me into so many things. Mr. Contreras got me the job that I currently have because he recently worked there. His letter of recommendation really helped me out there. And for the college students, always keep updating your portfolio. Make sure that is constantly updated, especially when you're a beginner. I mean, I'm 2 years into this, and my portfolio is being constantly updated because you never know when you're gonna get an opportunity to go and do something bigger. That's my one thing. I mean, for my job that I did get, they wanted me in the print shop because I had experience with it. But then when they found out that I had experience in the graphic design, that's when they switched me over to marketing. So you never know. Once they saw my portfolio, they said, yeah, let's go this route instead of the print shop. So always keep that updated to your best work. Keep learning and never stop learning.
Gosh, just so many things, and some that I've already said, but like never lose your spark to learning. You'll face years if you get into the field where you will face burnout, and it's a real thing and it's a problem. And whenever you are in the middle of burnout, there's nothing creative that comes to your mind. It's a lot harder to get things done, but that can be grueling. Find resources outside of work to serve your spark. Have that separation, have hobbies, try to develop a work-life balance if possible. Make it a priority if you can. It's harder whenever you're first starting out because you're trying to cut your teeth and trying to prove yourself. And that's okay, but take care of yourself as well. And something with what Vince was saying, I agree, great design. If it's not serving a purpose, it's not good design. I would also encourage to take a step a little further and say, if, again, a mentor of mine said once, the greatest elements in advertising are humor and heartstrings. Try to make people feel something with your work. That is part of design. I feel like great design incorporates art. It shouldn't be art alone. That's not good design, and it doesn't serve most purposes. But try to find that balance and try to move people.
All righty. Thank you, guys. Let's have a hand for these guys. Thank you.
Like I got one more thing if you want.
What's that?
I forgot one more thing if you
Okay,
want.
go ahead. Yeah.
Know how to do a good resume. That really does make a huge difference. Since y'all are designers, you can make nice ones. Just make sure it's clear. I know some people get a little too crazy and you just can't look at them. But in my experience, I got made fun of for mine a lot. But yeah, since you're designers, know how to make a really good resume.
And spell check is your friend.
Yeah.
I second both of those. My first resume I did after college, I got some bad advice from a different instructor, not one of the design instructors. Should listen to them more. Where they said, "Oh, it doesn't matter. Just do a Word document. You're fine." The only reason why I got the job I'd gotten after college was because I'd put in one of my things. I'd worked at a bookstore in the back room. I said, can lift heavy objects. Like, well, we got to meet this kid for sure.
Okay, well, thank you, guys. One of the things that I hadn't shared with you guys is IDigi is put on by students. So all of my my graduating students, the guys that are in portfolio and art direction too, y'all go ahead and come up front here. These are the guys that put this on. So once they get up here, can we give them a hand? Gotta get up. Okay, all the decorations, all the projects that you guys did, everything that was set up, all the judging was done by this group of students here, and I really appreciate them. Mr. Contreras led most of this with his Art Direction 2 class, so we appreciate him. I want to thank Mr. Cloud and Miss Jackson also for all the work that they put in and helped us with. I don't see Miss Jackson's hiding somewhere. Mr. Cloud's over there. All right. I also want to thank Matt Quick and his crew of the folks that helped out with all the sound, and Greg Cook and his guys there. Really appreciate it and couldn't do it without their help. But as everybody's smiling here, we're hanging around. Again, I want you guys in our program. So if you're interested to come into South Plains, and if you're a senior, talk to your advisors, talk to your teachers, email me, come see me. I still have about $2,500 to give out before next school year. So I'd love to have you guys. Thank you guys for coming to IDigi, and we'll be around a little bit if you want to talk to our panel, but I appreciate you guys coming, and y'all have a safe trip going home.